We are so far removed from the idea of America and its minarchism written in the United States Constitution, where we have to bring her back to where she belongs. Thank you for listening to this episode of Chasing Life, Liberty, and Minarchy. Good evening, and welcome to this lovely episode of Chasing Life, Liberty, and Minarchy. I am your host with the most, Mr. Roderick Threets, and I hope y'all had a great weekend. Those of you that are new to Chasing Life, Liberty, Minarchy, and the Torch of Liberty Media Foundation, make sure you drop a little subscribe, follow, all those things on there. Make sure you check out the Patreon, patreon.com/TOLMF. We're doing it on YouTube today also. That's gonna be Torch of Liberty Media FDN, if I remember correctly. It's over there. We're testing, streaming over there too, a little bit for a myriad of reasons, but we're here, we're doing the things. And tonight's episode is 7 of 8. We're almost done. We're almost done with this series of implementing Minarchy. If you haven't heard what is Minarchy series, you can go back. It's in the feed. You can go back and see it. It's in the feed. You understand what Minarchy is, what it consists of, the different elements. It's all there. And I know that everybody will recommend you watch those or listen, whatever case may be, to get an idea where we are here in implementing the Minarchy. This episode is called Challenges and Criticisms of the Minarchist Blueprint that we have created. And I will say to everybody, I am genuinely grateful that you've come this far with me. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your rear ends. I'm not saying it for that. I'm actually glad that you are open-minded to ideas that may challenge your position. I don't care if whatever your political thought process is. I hope I have challenged it enough for you to even take it, to even have a second look or a second take on it. So I thank you genuinely, because this has been an 8-week project. Obviously, week 8's next week that I've kind of put together on this, right? And we've created this night watchman state, brick by brick, right? A minimal government with a singular purpose. Over the last 6-7 weeks, we've defined its law enforcement, we've defined the justice system, we've defined defense, and even its funding. We've also bravely ventured beyond its walls to imagine how our deepest social needs could be met through voluntary action, free from government compulsion or manipulation, right? Today, we will bring everything I have learned, you have learned in this journey together. This episode isn't about theory anymore. It's about synthesis, okay? We're going to paint a picture of what a minarchist future might actually feel like. What does a day, a week, or a year look like when the state's grasp is minimal and the individual's freedom is paramount, okay? We'll explore the daily rhythms of life in a free society, touching on work, community, and a profound sense of personal liberty. This is where we move that blueprint we've been working on, okay, to a lived experience. Let's imagine the dream we have created is realized in everyday life of the free society we have done. Let's start with a typical morning. For many of us, waking up comes with a subtle but constant pressure, right? We feel the weight of taxes, regulations, and often a job that feels necessary just to pay the bills. Knowing a significant portion of our hard earned money will be siphoned before we even see it. See, here in Florida, right, for us, luckily, we don't have a state income tax, but we do still feel the sting of federal income tax, payroll taxes for Social Security and Medicare, and the ubiquitous sales and gas taxes or excise taxes, right? Tax season, right, with its 1040s and W-2s and all that stuff going on, that's creating this anxiety for millions of people, right? It's like being in a race that you can't win. You can't win with all these taxes. You can't win when they're stealing from you off the top. Now, I have a friend. We'll call him Mike. Right? He's a very talented landscaper. Right here in Citrus County in particular, and he wanted to start his own business. He was telling me he wanted to start his own business a few years back, and the initial he'd tell me his excitement about it was like, I do a great job cutting lawns. I got so many clients, this, that, and the third that I do on the side. And when he realized that how much it took to start that business and the paperwork that it takes to start a business of that. And Florida's gotten a little more streamlined with that, but it's still a pile of paperwork that you have to go through, all that good stuff, tax IDs, things of that nature. I mean, it's a mess in any state, not necessarily Florida, but I'm just throwing this out there because I think everybody can relate to this that has started a business, etc. Right? So he told me, he would sit there and spend weeks looking through county regulation, paying for licenses that he didn't really understand what's going on, and even hiring an accountant to figure out all the payroll taxes and quarterly filings, all that stuff, right? And he said he gave up. He gave up because his dream of helping people at low cost, right, was being bogged down by the bureaucracy. And I'm like, you're exactly correct. We need to get rid of, certain business licensure fees, things of that nature to make things a little bit easier to operate, right? We got some of that done, and some of it we didn't get done. But that's besides the point, right? We have to be able to do what we love without the government telling us we need a license to do what we love, and that's everything. That's everything. Now, let me flip the script on you, people. Let me flip the script on you, if I may. Now imagine waking up in a night watchman state minarchist type society, knowing the vast majority of your income is yours to keep and use as you see fit. No complicated tax filings, no hidden payroll deductions for services you don't use, And the fear of an IRS audit is null and void. The taxes, right? We talked about the taxes part, right? Would be really, really simple, right? A transparent consumption tax. We talked about that in episode 5 when we talk about the economics of minarchy. We talked about that transparent consumption tax. Now, you look, you'll, in other words, so people that are new to a consumption tax, right? Think about it as the sales tax. Sales tax is a consumption tax, right? You see it on the receipt for what it is. You buy the item in Florida, sales tax 6.5%. Boom. You see you're paying the consumption tax, right? For the new item, right? Because you don't pay taxes for items at garage sales, right? You don't pay taxes on old, quote unquote old items, right? You'll see in some cases, depending on what you purchase, how we outline the transparency, right? And I won't go back into episode 5, but you'll see, like, if you might purchase something, right? You'll see a justice and defense tax, right? This is exactly what when you purchase that, the tax you're paying goes towards justice and defense. Boom, that's it, right? The mental and financial burden of tax season is gone because you're paying for it at the register. You don't have to worry about people coming kicking in your front door because you might have missed a couple pennies. You missed a couple pennies. Oh, you're going to jail. You're going to jail now over a couple pennies, right? Imagine waking up with that burden lifted off of you. I mean, look, I'd be happy. But I want to get back to Mike's story a second, right? So I had to throw that in there. I kind of had a squirrel moment. I'm sorry. Y'all know I do that all the time because these ideas are always moving in on track. But Mike, under our framework, would have been completely different, right? He could wake up and say, I'm going to be a landscape business owner. I'm going to advertise, phone numbers, decals on the truck, everything. Even get the little plane to fly in the air. Mike's Lawn Service, 352-400-1000 is the phone number, right? Boom. Right? That dream that he had can be done with very little interference, right? And think about this a second, as if you're a Mike in landscaping business, right? First couple weeks, you buy your truck, your tools, not filling out any forms to do these things, right? His time would be spending innovating new ways to cut lawns, even seeding grass, right? Would fall into that if you wanted to go into that realm, right? Serving his customers, improving his craft, perfecting his craft, but he's not wasting his time on compliance. The freedom to earn and keep the fruits of your labor would create an incredible sense of purpose and control, right? People would feel less like a chore and more like a direct path to your goals, right? Because we talked about earlier how in the current society we live in, we wake up, our feet are hitting the floor, and we're worried about how are we going to pay these taxes and these bills in this dwelling. And it's a legitimate stress. I mean, I think well over 60% of Americans are living literally paycheck to paycheck. Like, literally, we're talking about people are one paycheck away from being houseless because of these taxations and these compliance fees and these different things. They have not made it easy to become an entrepreneur or a business owner in this country as it was supposed to be intended, right? You could, right, invest in your family's future. Okay. You could always start that project you've been wanting to do. Those of you married folks, married men, starting that back deck for your wife, right? Or put more money in retirement for you and your wife, or for yourself if you're single, right? Your work, your work should benefit you directly, your community, without the bureaucratic inefficiency of the state in between. It would be a time, if we could achieve this, it would be a time of unprecedented economic prosperity and individual flourishing. See, in our current world, community often revolves around government provided services, right? Public library, local park, neighborhood schools, public roads, right? These are things that we are forced to fund through taxes, whether we use them or not, right? So we often feel a sense of entitlement to these services, but a disconnect from their actual operation, waiting for the county or the city to fix a pothole or mow a lawn, right? I remember a story a few years ago. There was a small playground down in Arcadia, Florida, and that's down in DeSoto County. Um, they had a broken swing set in one of the parks, and swing set had been broken probably 5 6 years. City, county, nobody came and fixed it, repaired it, anything of that nature, right? And for years, the residents kept calling, "Hey, y'all need to fix this. Put a new play set in, whatever the case may be." Right? Everybody wanted to fix it. Even people volunteered their time and their materials and their tools to fix it, to be rejected. Right? It's it shouldn't be where the people cannot help repair the community without the taxation, without using the taxes of people of the municipality that are supposedly fixing said things. The community just jump in and do it, right? It's like these people, these municipalities take your money, and then when you ask them to fix a problem, they say no, we'll get to it, and you feel powerless, right? You feel beside yourself, right? See, let's flip the script to our blueprint, right? In our society, a community would be would be a vibrant one, but it would be built from the ground up, not the top down, right? The voluntary associations would flourish. People would come together to create and maintain their own services, right? And that same playground I just mentioned down there in DeSoto County, Florida, would be owned and operated by the local community association. And with the vast amount of wealth unlocked by minimal taxation, the residents would get together, hold a community meeting, and collectively decide to hire a local contractor to fix the swing set, and a local landscaper. And even, I would even throw in this story with Mike's story, but hire Mike, right? To come do it, to maintain the grounds, right? Because there's nothing more empowering and great feeling than a sense of ownership and pride and direct accountability for yourself, for creating things for other people to use and have pride in that, right? I don't know a single human being, right? I don't know a single human being that wouldn't feel great or empowered by that. Now, shifting a little bit. Remember our discussion on welfare back in I want to say it was, I think it was episode 6. It was last episode if I remember correctly, where we talked about welfare and education. This is where that vision we just spoke of come to life, right? Private charities funded by the generosity of a newly wealthy population would become the social safety net, providing, I would say providing like personalized, compassionate care for those in need, right? If your neighbor falls on hard times, the community, through its various voluntary organizations, steps in directly and quickly, right? Families would have the financial freedom to choose the best educational fit for their children, right? Leading to the flourishing of diverse and innovative schools. Parents would also be empowered to choose a school that reflects their values and educational philosophies. And that school's survival would depend on its ability to satisfy those parents, not the federal government or the state government funding them, right, through testing, right? And again, look, I keep talking about this one young lady I keep seeing in these chats and stuff on social media, but you know, we talk about um No Child Left Behind, right? We talk about that, but people seem to forget that ESSA, right, repealed One Child Left Behind and added another, I would say, bureaucratic process to that. Right? So No Child Left Behind didn't go away. It was just it was technically repealed. I need to bring up the bill real quick because this is how I do it. It just struck me across my brain here real quick. Um, because if you remember, No Child Left Behind brought in the standardized testing into our schools, but ESSA, or ESA it's called, Every Student Succeeds Act, repealed that, right? And with that, you've got these policies um, with the additional testing, and these assessments, and the change in Title 1 and Title 1 Part A and Part B funding and Title 9 funding, right? You have all these parameters that fall into that too. But I'm not going to get into that. But that's an example. If we go to these privatized institutions, right, that that our community would create because the taxation obviously wouldn't allow it, you would get rid of things like ESA, right? And the taxation that comes with that, right? And also remember, right, community, right, wouldn't be a geographic designation, right? And that's the other thing. And I think people make the mistake, right? And you hear the famous quote, "It takes a village," right? And that's kind of what community in a minarchist society means, not the way these political pundits use it as in it takes a village. They think they own your kids. You don't own your kids. It's their kids, the way they've said it. And y'all know who I'm talking about because you heard about them all the time saying that whole thing. Those are our children. No, 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 no. No, 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 it ain't. No, nope, 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 not at all. Right? It takes a village. Right? It takes a community, right? And a community, again, right, is not a town. It shouldn't be a town. It shouldn't be, you know, any municipality. It's people. It has to be voluntary and it has to be active, right? And a deeply engaged network of people who care and support for each other. You could be in Florida and support people in their cause or their, potential, financial windfall in the state of Georgia. Right? That's what the true saying of it takes a village, right? You help your fellow man no matter where they are if you have the means to do so. And in a Minarchy's blueprint, you're going to have the means to do so. Because again, the minimal taxation that comes with that, you got more money in your pocket. It's just the fact that, and the one thing I do think about is we have to get people out of a quote unquote greedy mindset and get them into a I'm gonna help my fellow man mindset, right? Because the government, remember, the government creates the disparities when it comes to income. They create it. They created all of it, right? I mean, starting with minimum wage. What was the purpose of minimum wage? Right? Minimum wage was created for people that were on a poorer scale, and we think in 1930, so we know who we're talking about, right? So they could pay them actually less for the same job as paying someone $13 an hour for, or not even 13. Well, at that, well, you get the contrast, right? Almost 3 times more. They could pay them less, right? And say, hey, look, diversity. I mean, look, I say it out loud. Minimum wage was the first DEI. I said it out loud. Those are on the back hiding. Yes. Minimum wage, the passive minimum wage through the New Deal was the first form of DEI. Okay? I want y'all to think about that a second. Because there was no diversity in the public unions, right? Because of the Wagner Act. The Wagner Act basically barred people that look like me from being in public sector unions until it was repealed. So in the meantime, what they create? Minimum wage. They can't be part of the union, but they need a job. We'll just pay them minimum wage. Listen to what I'm telling you. This is why government needs to be out of the way. This is why they need to be out of the way. But perhaps, we're going to shift the gear again a second. I would say the most profound change in our Minarchy's future would be a deep-seated sense of security and personal freedom. Okay? Today, we live in a world where the state is everywhere. It dictates what we can eat, what we can say in some context, how we can use our own property, and what we can do in our spare time. The feeling of being watched and overregulated is a constant low-level hum of anxiety for many people, right? We see police enforcing traffic laws in a speed trap, not because of a dangerous situation, but in a lot of cases to generate revenue, right? We have complex laws that can lead to unintentional violations and expensive legal battles. For example, here in Florida, we have the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, AKA it's a red flag law. And we know why that was passed because of the title of the bill. We had individuals, particularly down here in Hillsborough County, that they called the people on him. They called the man on him, right? They called the man on him. They came and took that man's guns, and he had to wait 3 months, almost 3 months, and $320,000 later for a lawyer to get his constitutional rights back. All because of a bill from the state that says if you think someone's acting suspicious or found out whatever, call us. will implement a temporary TRO and take your firearms. Hmm? This guy had to spend $325,000 to get his constitutional rights back because someone lied. I didn't think our rights were up for sale. Hmm. Apparently they are, according to the state, right? And I want people to remind people that was Rick Scott, the senator that everybody praises because they don't like Marco Rubio. Rick Scott passed that, just to let y'all know, when he was governor of the state, because he wanted to appease the Democrats in the state so he could get elected as the senator. Yeah, Rick Scott, we got y'all on Front Street. Hmm? That so-called, that Republican, not conservative, that Republican sold your rights out for Democrat votes. Hmm. I digress, though. How many people in the chat, by raising hands or on the radio, has gotten a speeding ticket in a zone what was impractical to get one? Right. Let me throw this scenario out there, because I know a lot of people have been through this scenario and probably been scared shitless. You're driving on a long stretch of road, state highway, county highway, whatever, right? And the speed limit drops from 55 to 35 for a quarter mile. No traffic, no homes, no schools on this stretch, just a clear road. And sure enough, a sheriff's deputy or a police officer was sitting right there catching everybody coming through there. How many people have gotten a ticket in that situation? I know a few people have, because you can't slow down fast enough, right? It's frustrating because situations like that feel less about public safety, but more about revenue generation, right? The police officer or the sheriff's deputy in that moment wasn't to protect you from harm. It was just there to enforce an arbitrary rule, right? And you had to pay hundreds of dollars for that, right? See, in a minarchist society, that whole menagerie is gone, right? The police will not be there to enforce arbitrary regulations or to punish you for victimless crimes, right? Their sole purpose would be to protect you from the initiation of force and fraud, right? And particularly with that, and we talked about this, right? When we talked about policing, we talked about the scales of justice, right? That was, I think it was episode 3, if I remember correctly, episode 3 of that. Okay, that laser focused mandate, right, would create a very real sense of safety and trust amongst the people, right? You would know that the law is simple, based on the NAP, or the non-aggression principle, or the non-aggression axiom, right? And universally understood. Instead of that speed trap, the police would be focused on a real crime of theft, burglary, or assault, right? Their resources would be dedicated to protecting you from genuine threats. And this would lead to a profound peace of mind that comes from knowing your property is truly your own and your liberty is not contingent on government approval. See, this freedom, and I want to make this clear for people that are unfamiliar with Minarchy, okay? This freedom isn't about chaos. It's about responsibility and accountability, right? It's the freedom to make your own choices, to take your own risk, and to succeed or fail on your own terms, okay? It's the freedom to pursue your own happiness without a government trying to plan your life for you. It's it's the fulfillment of the night watchman's promise, right? The state provides a shield, allowing you to live your life in peace, security, and true liberty. It's about a world where liberty is not just a word, but the very foundation of everyday life. And that brings us to the end of this episode. We've gone this journey. I've been excited about this journey, and the next one we're going to start on including this is going to be very good too. I ain't going to give it away just yet. I might pop some previews on Patreon and what we'll be talking about. But we've gone from the philosophical bedrock of the non-aggression principle from the first series, right? From the very first series, what is Minarchy, right? To the practical realities of building a minimal state with this blueprint we've done for the last 7 weeks now. Okay. We've imagined a society where, again, law enforcement is focused, justice is swift, and defense is non interventionalist, and the economy is free. We've seen how community, charity, and private enterprise could provide for our social needs far more effectively and efficiently than the state, right? The Now, don't get me wrong. The minarchist future blueprint that we've created isn't a utopia. There would still be problems, disagreements, and bad actors, but it is a future built on a profound respect for the individual and the belief that a free people are a prosperous and compassionate people. It is a vision where the government isn't a master, but a servant, right? A minarchist government, the night watchman state that stands guard, allowing you to live your life in peace, security, and true liberty. Because again, we see what has happened when government becomes master, when it's supposed to be the servant. And people have confused those lines for almost 200 years in this country we call the United States of America. That document we hold dear, the United States Constitution, I'll say it again and I'll always say it, is the best minarchist document ever written by any group of people for any country in the world. But you got people that confuse compulsion with compulsion, extortion, and compassion. They conflate all the three. They think because the government comes to your door with the damn gun that they're showing compassion. No, they are exhibiting force upon your individual liberties. Now, I want people to understand that. They think the government is actually serving them when they're actually the master. Look, let's take SNAP benefits, EBT. Government, oh, government serve me. Oh, yeah, they're going to serve you. And those of you from the streets, right? Those of you that are familiar with the streets, I'm going to go here with this analogy, right? What do dope dealers do on the street corner? They don't sell drugs. What do they call it? They call it serving, don't they? They out there serving, right? Dope boy is like the government. They serving you but you better pay them, right? Right? You better pay them for that dope they serving you. Mm. If not, what dope boy gonna do? He coming to your door with he pulling out his pistol on you on the spot. You better give my money for that dope you just took from I just served you, huh? Government's exact same way, aren't they? Even some dope boys get to a point, right? They own their own trap houses, right? They own their own trap house. So you gonna come to the dope boy's trap house. He gonna serve you your dope and you gonna smoke that dope in that house. You ain't going outside the house with the dope. You staying in the house with the dope. Now apply that to EBT and SNAP. Tell me it's not the same thing. Hmm? Government serve you the SNAP benefits. Look here, fam. Look here, fam. Before you run off with that card, here's a list of things that you can't buy. Hmm? Here's a list of things you can't buy. Right? Dope boy tell you he's serving you. People think the government is serving them, but they the master. They are the master. Huh? Told you when people tell you the government been in the dope game longer than the dope man, you better believe them. You better believe them. Hmm? Anyway, look, I appreciate y'all for coming through. Thank you for joining me on this latest episode of Chasing Life, Liberty, and Minarchy. I hope this thought experiment has been insightful for you as much as it's been for me. But remember, this conversation does not end here. It's just beginning because the ideas I have put out there, the ones you've created in your mind, even the ones you discuss with your friends, are powerful and they deserve to be shared because people are tired of tyranny from the state. It's simple. Question the status quo. Imagine a different way. I'm not saying my way is right. Again, I'm just giving you ideas. I'm just giving you ideas, right? We take the first step towards a hopeful future here. And every time you wake up, make sure you guys do come back next Sunday for the final episode number 8, where we'll be talking about the future of freedom. Is minarchy actually achievable? It can be. It will be achievable by almost any means necessary, but we're not going to get into that right here. With that being said, I appreciate y'all. I love everybody. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff right here. Make sure you go to the Patreon, TOLMF. Check us out over there. And with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Remember, love your neighbors, love your family. But if you do not love yourself, you cannot love anything else. Until next time, y'all. Peace and love.